Well, hello everyone. You have right here, I'm talking about with the school bus field trip right here. I'm talking about bridges right here. And I'm sure that most of us can remember back in the earlier days of whenever you were a student and in school, right? And you're thinking as to it, okay, yeah, when we talk about field trips and all that, and so it sure seems that way that when we do speak about field trips in a lot of ways, and you're thinking as to where, yeah, it's basically a time of the school day where you actually get on the school bus and you actually go on a trip somewhere, right? You actually go somewhere, for educational reasons, or like everybody says, if it's maybe to go to a game or something like that. But I'm just showing everybody here is that with this bridge your design sketch right here that I put together right here, and you see this right here with the bridge right here, and we all probably know that that when we do speak about bridges a lot of times, and you have right here, you got the school bus right here, but I'll go ahead and paint right here as some examples right here of some rails right here. So you got the road right there, and then you got the bridge right here. But it's like, yeah, so whenever you do look at the bridge and think about the bridge a lot of times, and you're thinking that yeah, that going on these field trips a lot of times, that what sorts of memories is it really going to bring back when we do think about bridges a lot of times, bridges and overpasses, and everybody would say is toward, okay, yeah, that usually that pretty much means is that it's on a higher level of the pathway. Like most bridges, and I'll go and show everybody here that most bridges that have that to where I'll go ahead and paint right here will be like if I want to go ahead and add a little bit of blue right here down here, like at this right here was supposed to be a body of water or something like that. You got the mountains right there, but like everybody would say is toward, yeah, that a lot of the field trips that you went on whenever you were a kid, for sure, that you can maybe remember going to maybe to the park, or maybe yeah, anywhere in particular, right? And 102 that yeah, that if it's maybe the games or anywhere like that. But still, that talking about that whenever I went on those field trips a lot of times, that I can just remember that yeah, each time you would cross a bridge, that would be another example of what you call is like to where a place far far away from school or something like that. And I would usually think that way. What was the reason? Well, because that I used to always think that you're used to going there with family members and friends. You're not used to going there on an actual field trip. And like everybody would say that when we do speak about a field trip, by the way, that the first thing that you're gonna be thinking about is that, yeah, that have you been here before or something like that, and so yeah, the first thing that's maybe going to come to your mind is that, hey, have you been to this location before? And you're trying to remember that if you've been to that location or if you haven't been to that location. But you see right here, yeah, these mountains right here. But I'll go and show everybody here, yeah, I can I can add a little bit of green right here too. Like everybody say that usually mountains are like a type blue type color and all, but still, it's like if you're driving through parts of yeah, maybe Nebraska or Oklahoma City or somewhere like that, that usually you would see mountains and type of gray mountain clay plateaus or something like that. But you have right here of these mountains right here, and you got right here is the sky right here. But it's like whenever you do think about a field trip, a lot of times that's usually a time toward, yeah, a lot of opportunities that you think is to where, hey, that we all look forward to those opportunities most of the time. But you have right here of this bridge right here, and if we can all see this right here, that with this bridge right here, that because it sure seems that way, that when we do speak about a bridge a lot of times, that you know if I were to be writing, I'm like, yeah, people might say that if you were to be writing a paper about that in 102, that the first thing that you start out with in that sentence would be is a bridge. So like people want to know too that, hey, that if you were to go ahead and write a paper talking about a field trip that you're going to be going on or something like that, something like that, and want to know too that hey the field trip that what you can remember a lot of times, and everybody would say that that one thing that you do remember whenever you went on this field trip was there a bridge that came up if you were traveling eastbound or maybe southbound or somewhere like that, and so each time you think about that, then you want to know too that does the bridge come before or after you come up to those traffic lights or something like that. So each time you think about that, then you want to know too that hey that I'm trying to remember that at that overpass right there, at the overpass, because you have right here the bus right here, but it's like whenever you do think about that, then want to know too that you're traveling on that bus, but then there'll be a bridge right here, and want to know too that you have the bridge right there, and then like everybody might say that the bridge, and then there'll be what you call is to where that where you would have different sceneries that whenever you're going to be driving, whenever you're going to be traveling on this bridge, that you would see different sceneries, and so whenever you do think about that, then you're warned to where that hey that I'm like that we're talking about maybe a number of places and a lot of photographs, right, and different paintings of how to describe that. But we're also talking about is if I were to be writing a paper about this and talking about the bridge right here, and it's like, why do you think that you would start out the sentence about your vacation and your field trip by that I remember that bridge. I can remember that bridge. We went over some bridge, and especially if you're going to be going over that bridge, going about maybe 40 or 50 mile an hour, you may not remember all the details about which bridge, what was the name of the bridge, and everything. And so if you're going to be going on these field trips for sure, that how many times is maybe is the teacher going to ask you to take notes over what you're doing, and that's why it seems like that, whenever you do think about that, then you're warned to where that, the teacher's going to ask you to go ahead and take notes of what you're going to be looking at. And, I mean, how many of us maybe want to know too that, why do we have to keep track of that information right there about that whenever you do go to the zoo or anywhere else where you're going to be going, and the teacher's going to ask you to hold on to it, hold on to a pass or a ticket or something like that. And so it sure seems that way that every time you think about that field trip for sure, that you're going to be thinking this toward that the first thing that you think about is going to be is that I don't really remember that stop sign that was right there on the corner or something like that, but what you remember is crossing a bridge. You remember crossing a bridge right here, and like everybody might say that, do you remember crossing that bridge at all, even if the bus was going about 40, 50 mile an hour? And so that's a thing about whenever it comes to field trips a lot of times, is that if you're going to be asked to take down notes about while you're driving, and like everybody might say, I'm like, while you're traveling, and so you're thinking that, hey, that you got right here painted details right there. That right there is supposed to be ducks in the sky and all that. But still, that this was an idea that I came up with right here of talking about bridges and overpasses. So every time a field trip would come up, that I would think as to where what's a good way of how to start with telling a story about a field trip. And people might say that you go ahead and start out with besides maybe a parking lot or something like that. But after the class picks you up, you're there at home to take you to somewhere special, right? But really, that do you find looking at bridges and overpasses to be really fascinating? And for whatever reason, that I found looking at bridges and overpasses, like everybody might say that you got right there's the bus right there, and then you got right here's this bridge right here. And you're want to know too that anywhere that's going to be over the bridge, and in case if anybody's want to know too that if you go anywhere that's going to be over the bridge, that you consider that to be a place far away from the school. And so how many of us would maybe think of that? That if you had that opportunity where you can actually go somewhere to where it was a place far, far away because we crossed a bridge. And we crossed a bridge, and we were traveling the northeast or somewhere like that. And like everybody said, if you were to start out the sentence by saying something like that, and somebody's going to maybe say that, what are you talking about? And so that's why it seems that way, to where that when we do speak about bridges, though, and when we speak about field trips, though, that you're kind of wanting to know too, that yeah, that whenever you're going to be traveling on a field trip, and then want to know too that hey, that you remember crossing a bridge, but still, that with this bridge right here, that you see this bridge right here, and I'm gonna go ahead and just paint a little bit of detail, like right down here. What do you think? What's the bridge called? What would the bridge name be called? And what do you think would be down here? Like if you recognize anything down here. So like anybody might even ask me that, what's the name of the bridge, and where's the crossing? But I'm like, I draw a bridge, and like everybody might say that, if the bridge really has a name in particular, but still, that if you want to go ahead and maybe draw like a little body of water down there, but still. But it's like when we do think about bridges and overpasses a lot of times, that are we necessarily thinking about is that, yeah, that anywhere that's going to be far away from the school for sure, that somebody's going to maybe say that, hey, I remember crossing a bridge, and hey, I remember that. And so yeah, so every time you think about a bridge, right, are you necessarily thinking about that someplace far away from the school? And so it sure seems that way, that anybody might even say that you go ahead and start out the story by saying that you're dreaming about going on a field trip with your class, but you dream about a bridge. You're crossing the bridge. But what direction are you going? Are you going northbound? Or are you going southbound or something? But still, that anybody might even ask me that yeah, if you were to start out with a poem about talking about riddles or something like that, then more likely that you will be talking about bridges and overpasses. For whatever reason, besides the ducks, and maybe besides the frog, or maybe if it's the bunny or something like that, you would probably talk about bridges and overpass and tunnels. And so with my take, and like, let's just say if this right here was supposed to be like a puzzle or something like that, like a model, but still, that each time I think about that, and I'm wondering to where that yeah, that what you're trying to tell the rest of the class right here is that you were dreaming about going over a bridge. It was supposed to be a class field trip right here, a place far away in distance. But another thing that I can maybe add to is that yeah, you were not able to get any photographs of the trip, and so that's why that the rest of the class might even say too that hey, that you didn't take no pictures. And how many how many teachers might even say too that if you're going to be going anywhere within about maybe 10 miles from where the school was, we would suggest you go ahead and try to get some pictures if you can, to take some pictures. But still, you have this right here, talk about with the school bus right here. And it's like, yeah, so every time you think about that school bus right there, and you're wondering, oh, too, that, hey, that the school bus, right? And you're wondering to where the, hey, that, yeah, that you got, student, I'm like, yeah, if it's going to be all girls on board or something like that, or a few guys on the school bus, but whenever you're going to be traveling on that school bus, and if you see this right here, that you got the school bus right here, right? And it's like, yeah, so whenever you think about that, and you're worried to where that yeah, you remember crossing a bridge right here, and everybody might say that, why do you think that the purpose about any source of field trip, you remember the traffic light very well, but somebody else might say that, I remember crossing a bridge. And every time you think about that bridge, by the way, that you're going to tell somebody that, every time I think about going over a bridge, I keep thinking that, it's a place far away from the school or something like that that you went to, and you actually went to a park or somewhere like that. But like anybody might say that, yeah, when we do speak about field trips, by the way, that, you might think that, hey, it's not the traffic lights that made you think that it was a place far away from the school where you went, but it was a place that was across the bridge. It was across the river or something like that, and everybody might think that, yeah, anywhere across the river for sure. That you want to know too that do you think most children would think that they would think that anywhere that was across the bridge would be considered somewhere far away from the school. And whenever you do think about that, and you're want to know too that you call that maybe somewhere special or something like that, or like everybody else might say that you remember crossing that bridge right there, and and you're warned to where, hey, that yeah, I remember crossing that bridge, but do you remember the name of the bridge? Do you remember anything at all about the details about what was going on? Like you remember seeing these mountains, and maybe you remember seeing maybe a few landscapes or something. Like, yeah, so anywhere you're going to be driving for sure, that somebody's going to maybe say that, okay, you've been across that bridge at least once or twice. What do you remember seeing on the south side of that bridge? Like if you see any ducks, and maybe if you do see any landscapes, like such as if there's any lakes or ponds down there on that side right there. So every time you think about that, and I'm like, yeah, it looks more like snow, right? And people want to know too that yeah, that if you can go ahead and maybe add like maybe a little bit of blue down there if you want, but or something like that. But still that try to make it look a little bit more like water, but still that. But when we do think about bridges, a lot of times that whenever we think about bridges, most of the time that what exactly is it that you're going to be thinking about necessarily, and everybody else would say that yeah, that bridge is a bridge. That if you were to be writing a paper about that, what is a good definition of the word bridge right here? That what do you see right down there? If you're going to be crossing that bridge right there, what do you remember seeing whenever you were crossing that bridge, and maybe if you were looking, on the north side of the bridge, or maybe if it's the east side of the bridge, or something like that, and so like you might think that do you really? Yeah, I was not really paying attention, to be quite honest with you. I was not even paying attention just to know if there was a house located right there on the side of the bridge. And maybe some students might even say that, I don't know, who cares? I was not paying attention, to be quite honest with you. I was not paying attention to where, what was on this side of the mountains, what was on that side of those cliffs and all that. And so that's why it seems like that every time you think about that, and people may want to know too, that why do you think anybody would take the time to want to write a paper about it? And let's just say that if that was a part of the field trip, you get on that bus and you write a paper about the things that you saw while you were on this trip. And maybe some students might say that I don't really pay attention to all those details, to be quite honest with you. And so yeah, so whenever you do think about that, and you're aware to where that do you think most students would they would say that if that's a part of your grade or something like that, or like everybody else would say that that would you please tell us about your experience about what you saw? And let's just say that the part of the reason for this field trip right here was so that way you can yeah, so that way you can have a good scenery of what construction that was going on. If there was construction going on here around the city, and maybe if there was a few mountains or something like that, take you there to explore them, and something like that. So whenever you do think about that, then you're warned to where that hey, that you go on this field trip with a few of your classmates, and you're thinking this toward it, yeah, do you take the time to take any photographs or anything? And so whenever I was looking at this right here, and I was thinking too that yeah, you would go ahead and talk about the bridge right here, but still at the same time, it's like everybody might say is toward hey, that yeah, that you go ahead and go on a field trip with your class, and want to know that hey, that what did you see whenever you going on that field trip? I'm like, yeah, you want to know what I saw? Well, I remember crossing a bridge, and I can remember seeing a lot of houses and a lot of buildings over there on the south side and all, but still, it's like you see this bridge right here, and I'll show everybody here that yeah, painting the details right there of the bridge right there. But it's like, yeah, so whenever you think about the bridge right here, I'll even paint a little bit of details right there, like yeah, if there's a rail or something like that on that bridge, and maybe if it's maybe a 2-lane overpass or something like that. But still, it's like whenever you do think about bridges, though, that you're warned to where that yeah, you go over that bridge, and the first thing that the teacher's going to maybe tell you is that back in the old days that they would test these bridges, just to see how strong they were. They would put a lot of yeah, if it was a train or a steam engine, any sorts of locomotive, and they would put them on that bridge, and they would be testing it just to see how much weight it would hold a lot of times. And you're thinking as toward yeah, that whenever you go on those field trips, by the way, some students might even say that I was not really even paying attention to all those details, to be quite honest with you. I was not even paying attention to exactly about that okay, about the bridge, that going over that bridge, and maybe if you remember at all going over it once or twice and knowing the things that you saw, right? And everybody would say that if you were to go ahead and write a story talking about that in 102, that yeah, the bridge right there, and I can go ahead and make that a little bit bigger right here, but you see this right here, everybody might say that yeah, you go ahead and make that a little bit bigger right there, so that way the students, and you see the students right there, and like I say that yeah, they're during that 1 year that you were crossing that bridge, and what was that bridge called right there, and what were those mountains called and all that, and so really, do you think most students would take the time to answer a few of those questions whenever it comes to that? What was that? Yeah, we went across that bridge, and down here was this pond right here. There was a pond right here during the time, and so yeah. So let's just say if it was a science project or something like that, but each time I think about that, then people might say that yeah. So if you were to actually do like maybe like a theme or some kind, to where you would actually paint a picture of a bridge right here, and you would include a picture of a school bus right here with a few students, and you would be talking about them. People were looking at that, and they're wondering too that hey, that you must have been dreaming, because I don't even know really what all that means right there. So each time you think about that, then you're wondering too that yeah, that you got the school bus right there, but does do any students maybe remember as to where that I don't really I don't remember at all crossing that bridge. By the way, I can yeah, even if you made it smaller, even if you made the picture just a little bit smaller right there, and people may want to know too, I don't remember, I don't remember crossing that bridge. Yeah, if I don't remember crossing that bridge, even if you were just like everybody might say that, even if you put an image right there, and people might say, yeah, if you moved it around a couple of times, and people might say that, hey, You don't remember at all crossing that bridge? I can, maybe a little bit, but not really. So it's like, so every time you think about that, then you're going to know too that yeah, the first thing that you see, maybe if it's on like maybe a ticket or something like that, maybe on an invitation, and people might say, yeah, I remember seeing the bus right there, and everybody say, yeah, if you looked in the papers for sure, if you looked in the in the newsletters, that the first thing that you saw on there was the bus, right? You saw a bus right here. If you looked in the catalogs, you saw a bus right there, but you didn't see the bridge. So, like everybody might say that any field trip that you're going to be going on, by the way, and somebody's going to maybe say that, hey, that you know, I remember a little bit of crossing that bridge and going over that bridge, but so far as any further details about what I saw, maybe on the south side or something like that, or maybe on the north side of the lawn, and so everybody might say, yeah, you got this right here. At this right here will be example right here of a bridge, but still, you don't remember all the details about, okay, yeah, what was on that side of the bridge that you can remember seeing. I'm like, yeah, well, do you remember at all seeing anything down further down there, like if there was a body of water or something like that, like you got right there, down there on the bottom of the bridge right there, that you see some of the details right there, that right there was supposed to be a lake right down there or something like that. And so everybody might say that, yeah, that so whenever you had these situations to where that you go on a field trip, right? And how many of us could maybe think that you can remember maybe a little bit of the details about that, but it's like you might think that if it's been about maybe 5 years or maybe 10 years since the field trip, and the first thing that you can remember is that, yeah, I remember getting on the bus, but I don't remember all those details about where we went, but still. So everybody might say that, yeah, you remember getting on the bus, but you don't remember the details about where you went, and so everybody might say that, yeah, that so if you're going to be doing any sorts of scrapbooking or something like that, putting any sorts of photographs together, for sure, that what's really the best way of how to refreshen somebody's memory, and want to know too that, hey, that if you want to talk about bridges and tunnels and overpasses, for sure, that you go ahead and start out the story by saying that, yeah, we got on the bus right here, and then we just start traveling. We start driving, and we were driving going into the center lane right here, and then that's whenever that we came up to a restaurant right down here. Yeah, and then we got on the highway, and then we came up to a tunnel, and then yeah, and then we turned around, got back on the highway, and then we came up to a rest stop, and then we pulled into a restaurant, and so really that like everybody might say that if there was a typical game that you could play that would show these pieces, right? But it's like so every time you think about that, then you're always want to know too that yeah, that you had the school bus right here, but in case if anybody's wondering to where that hey, that how often are you going to be asked that question to where maybe if you're going to be in the back seat of that school bus right there, and you may not realize it, but people might say that yeah, if you're going to be riding on that school bus for sure, you don't remember all those details because while you were riding on a school bus that you were actually talking to your friends, and maybe if you were playing a game in the back seat or something like that, or maybe you were playing, you were working on something like you were writing something down in a notebook or something like that. So everybody might say if you're going to be going on a field trip, and let's just say if you're going to be in the back seat right here, then people might say, yeah, what's the best way of how to describe daydreaming for sure? And everybody might say that, yeah, well, for sure, that you're going to be daydreaming mainly because of the fact that, yeah, if you're going to be on a school bus with a bunch of kids that maybe that you don't quite know just yet, and usually that happens too. if you're going to be on a school bus with a bunch of school kids that you didn't know during the time. You didn't know them all during the time, and that's whenever that they tell you that yeah, we went on a field trip, over there to that park, that national park, over there, not too far from the mountains. So every time you think about that, then you're always want to know too that yeah, I remember getting on the bus, but I don't remember where we went, and so that's why it seems that way to where that everybody might say that yeah. So like a lot of school kids might even say that why do you think that maybe some school kids might say that you don't pay attention to all those details, so you're gonna go ahead and just daydream about stuff, and but still, like everybody might say that yeah, that whenever you're going to be going places, that the only thing that you could really remember during a time was that yeah, you were following the class. The rest of the class, 15 students, they were getting on the bus, and then whenever they were getting off the bus, that's whenever you were following everybody else, and that's usually what happens too, everybody. That every time you think about that, by the way, that you're going to be thinking that the way that you grew up, that you're going on field trips, that you can remember that you were following the class, even if it was Girl Scouts, and maybe even if it was camping, going on a field trip, going to a local farm or somewhere like that. That you can remember getting on the school bus, but you remember getting off the school bus, but you were at a different location. So every time you think about that, then you're always want to know too, what's the best way of how to start whenever it comes to getting to know everybody, and especially knowing where you went. And let's just say if it was the zoo, maybe if it was maybe the museum or somewhere like that. And so that's why it seems like everybody might say that one thing that usually helps out a lot with refreshing the kid's memory, of course, is that yeah, that you go ahead and even though that if it's maybe 10 years later, that everybody might say that you go ahead and draw a picture of the school bus right here with maybe a few students that you did know during the time, but people might say that yeah, I remember getting on the school bus, but I don't remember at all where we went. So that's why that you would say that okay, so that's why you drew the school bus with all the details right there of the students, right? And then that's whenever that you drew the school bus right there, and then that's whenever you were moving it around like that, and so everybody might say that you were moving it around and maybe rotating it, and people might say that does that refresh in your memory just a little bit whenever you do that? That whenever you draw the school bus, and people might say that yeah, just like a puzzle piece, you would actually move it around just like that, and everybody might say that for any purpose at all, why you think that you would want to do that, and everybody might say that yeah, well, for sure that you might remember some details whenever you do that, but then some of those details you may not be able to remember very clearly, but everybody might say that yeah, that if you were to look at a school bus like that, like if it's on a bridge, just like that, right there, right, and for whatever reason, why do you think it's going to remind you of maybe going to a restaurant in town or somewhere like that, or maybe traffic? Maybe if you were stuck in traffic, maybe for those first few minutes or so, and everybody might say that yeah, well, for the most part, that yeah, it's going to remind you of being stuck in traffic for a while, and so everybody might say that yeah, that if you were to actually draw the school bus like that right there, and everybody might say that for sure that I think it's going to remind somebody that it was just a little bit bumpy, but do you remember at all about if you were stuck in traffic, or maybe if you did go pick somebody up or something? So whenever you do think about that, and you're always want to know too that things that you don't remember, but every time you think about that, and you're always want to know too that yeah, I'm like you were on that school bus, but you just can't remember all the details about where you went, and but at the same time, in case if anybody's want to know too, that you look at that school bus by the way, and want to know too that yeah, the first thing that's going to be coming to your mind, of course, was that was a long time ago, but there at the same time that everybody might say that yeah, that you talk to a friend of yours, or you may even talk to somebody that used to know, used to know them, and people might say that yeah, you start remembering things for sure, and you always want to know too that you start remembering things, and why do you think that you start remembering things? Well, first of all, it's like what you actually were working on was that you drew this picture right here of the school bus right here, and so whenever you do think about that, then you always want to know too that yeah, it's besides a school bus, it could also be a shuttle bus. It could maybe also be like everybody might say that it could also be like everybody else might say that yeah, most of the time it was a school bus if you were going together with maybe 20 other classmates or so. But maybe let's just say that if you were riding in a van, maybe in a minivan, or maybe going yeah, meeting somebody somewhere or something like that. But still, that but every time you think about that, it's maybe going to remind you of something, maybe something special, right? And that's why it seems that way toward it. Everybody's maybe going to say that yeah, that you remember crossing that bridge right there, and you got the bridge right there, and so it sure seems that way. That if you were to be telling a story right here, and at 102 that yeah, that you start out the sentence by saying over the bridge or something like that, and so the way I think about too that every time you do think about that, then you're 102 that why do you start remembering things? You just start remembering things, and even though that some of those things maybe have absolutely nothing to do with what you were talking about, but everybody might say that whenever it comes to understanding about yeah, over the bridge, I can go in right here. I can get this to work right here, but still, it's like so you start out the story by saying that yeah, over the bridge, and but still, the way I think about it too, though, that when we do talk about when we do talk about field trips, a lot of times is that whenever it comes to going on just to be able to refresh in the memory and everything, and everybody might say that like yeah, whenever it comes to field trips, right? But anyway, but yeah. So whenever I do think about that, I always think about is that you got the bridge right here, and so that's why it seems that way to where that when we do speak about the school bus right here, and everybody might say that yeah, that you remember getting on that bridge. I'm like yeah, you remember you remember getting on the school bus, and but still. So there you have it right there. Is that you got the bridge right there, but almost everybody else might say that yeah, if you're going to be going on a field trip somewhere, and let's just say that you took a few photographs of maybe a few classmates that you remember going to school with, and let's just say that if you stopped into one of the restaurants, maybe if it was in the mall, over the bridge, over there at the shopping mall or somewhere like that, and so that's why it seems that way to where that people might say that yeah, you go ahead and start out with you go ahead and take a picture of something, or maybe draw a picture of something 102 that just to kind of refresh in your memory just a little bit, that yeah, that you draw the school bus right there, and you're 102 that you start out the sentence by saying the bridge, and so yeah, you cross that bridge, but like everybody might say that yeah, compared to a lot of other things that you saw, that 102 to yeah, I remember the traffic light, and I can remember the stop sign, and I can also remember seeing a few restaurants and buildings over there on the north side or something like that. But everybody would say is toward yeah, a lot of things is what you can remember about the field trip, right? And so that's why it seems that way to where that every time you do think about that, and you're always wanting to know too that yeah, that you know a lot of those opportunities for sure that you can remember looking forward to for sure. But on the other hand, that you're always wanting to know too that have I been here before? Have you been to that same location before? And if you have, you're trying to remember, where you went, who you went with, and all that. And but anyway, thanks for watching, everybody. But it's still more likely, like everybody might say, that you talk about the bridges, right? But still, in case you want to know too, that yeah, you got the field trip right there. But anywhere special where you went to, and want to know too that any source of opportunity, right? But anyway, thanks for watching, everyone, and have a great day.